this is William Tincup and Ryan Leary, and you're listening to the Use Case Podcast. Today from Iceland, we have Tobá on with us. That's her nickname, by the way. She is going to pronounce her full name, so pay attention.
This is interesting.
There's going to be a quiz at the end of that. So,
kind of feel like she's going to say it nicer than you did, though.
100%. 100%. Are you kidding me? She knows English a hell of a lot better than I know Icelandic. So,
Yeah.
There's that. Tobá, would you do us a favor and introduce yourself properly and tell us a little bit about your company?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, guys. And hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so I think you did it quite well. It's Tobba. My real name is Þorbjörg Helga Vigfusdóttir. You can try that later.
No, let's try it now. No later. I want him trying this now.
It occurred to my parents that I might be working outside of the island, but they didn't, But yes, so I am the founder and CEO of a company called Karaconnect, and we are giving access to the right kind of help in mental health and well-being.
Now, you got to tell us, how'd you get into this bit? How'd you start this company?
Yeah, I don't know how short it will be, but I started out studying in the University of Washington in Seattle. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I was doing my master's there in educational psychology, and I was studying metacognition, which is your ability to think about your thoughts. It actually crossed a little bit with philosophy. And then I learned about the deviations of the brain quite a bit on that, because this is something that people don't have when they're autistic or have different kinds of brain problems. So I just accidentally, started studying about the deviations and the development of the brain, basically. I went back home after a stop in France and started working in politics. And or maybe you don't, but in the Nordics, we pay everything as in access to help with the taxpayers' money.
Right.
So you have to do politics if you want to change systems. So I went in there and I wanted to change how the children were getting help, what kind of help they were getting. And, it didn't go really well, I have to admit. I pushed the needle and I started the discussion, and all the parents that had these kids were with me, of course, but it's hard to change the school system, all these welfare systems. Then I left. I started a speech therapy company that was just using Zoom in 2014. And I realized that we needed an Uber model kind of a setup because payment was different than users and users different than professionals. And we needed somehow to give access to different types of professionals to get the right help through. So I started Karaconnect with more people in 2015. And we've been building for a few years, we've been building a secure workstation to get these professionals online. And now we have around 3,000 of them doing 60 kinds of professional services in 35 languages. We have to do that in Europe. And we are building well-being hubs for companies to access these different people for different reasons and different kinds of employees. And it's just really nice to wake up every day to do this job.
That's an interesting story. Talk more about, so you just mentioned it, well-being hubs. Talk more about that. That's interesting to me.
Yeah. So if I go back a little bit, I started out thinking special education hubs.
Right.
And I wanted these hubs to be in the schools, accessible to these professionals. As I said, market was not there, and the kids all of a sudden were at work. And I thought, the same problem is going to move up the ladder. Right. So we started introducing well-being hubs in the same form. So we, for example, go into a retail company where the average age of employees is 35 or 45. And we produce a well-being hub that actually has what they need. Different languages, different kind of maybe communication skills problems, maybe anxiety, nutrition, sleep. And then we go into a university and we have more for older or elder people, We have menopause. We have all these things, and we just cater to the company's needs. And of course, white label the wellbeing hub. And then, like I said in the beginning, the payer is always different. So the companies are paying credits, basically. So if you're an employee of that retail company, you get 6 credits to use the hub, and you can use it, go forth and back. And what's important to say here that most of our competition is monetizing the professional side, just like the Uber discussion, but we are not. We're paying the professionals the right fee. They're almost 85% women, and they're not very high. They're charging not very high anyway. So we're changing the game there with paying the right fee to the professionals, and that's how we can grow our aggregator of professional services, basically.
And you listed off a couple of those services. Could you go a little bit more into, because you talked about nutrition, you talked about sleep. What's the array right now? What touches mental health, I guess, is a broader question.
Yeah. So 50% of the bookings are mental health professionals.
Right.
They're all kinds, and they have tags. So if you are gay, you can figure out who to see.
Right.
You can also, tag the language or whatever it is that you need. So we have a diverse profile of psychologists or psychotherapists on it, because that's the most needed service. But then we have financial support, nutrition, all kinds of nutritionists. We have people that help you breathe, coaches. We have people that help you with communication skills, all kinds of coaching. We have fertility. We have, like I said, menopause. We have just a whole range of services that we would, in Europe, say we're in between you being healthy and the hospital services.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like a territory, kind of a group of people that can be preventative on some things, but can also help you if you're in trouble already.
Got it. What's the company profile that you're targeting with Karaconnect?
Yes. Good question.
Prospects. Yeah.
We are all over the place, which is a little bit of a problem. So we have hospitals, we have law firms, we have consulting services, we have the Big Four, we have all kinds. We have retail, universities, like I said, we have energy companies, aluminum plants, and just, we now know that we can service a lot of different companies, but the focus now is actually consultation services in law firms, because they are really quick at figuring out if they can save a couple of sick days. That this will be very good for them money wise. And then the second tier is actually companies that have a high security protocol. So energy companies, construction companies, they all have a liability to make sure that their people are safe, and this is a part of it. So these two seem to be a very nice niche markets, very different, but seem to be our fit right now, at least.
I think the go-to-market on a lot of these types of plays has been historically incorrect in that they've marketed it as a good thing to do. This is moral. It's this is just the right way to treat your employees, treat them like the whole human, care about them. A lot of empathy steeped in this. I should care, you should care, etc. I actually think all that shit's just incorrect. I think that the way to market this company is about productivity. It's like, yeah, you could talk about all that stuff till people are blue in the face, and they're either going to care or they're not going to care, but they're always going to care about productivity.
They are.
So if you talk to them about productivity and just say, hey, listen, whether or not it's the right thing or the wrong thing or the moral thing or whatever, here's the deal.
Yeah.
Less sick days.
Yeah. We can definitely show that, and the research shows it gives you 400 to 600% back, but our first cases are 800% back.
Right.
So you don't have to get a lot of sick days away from your sheet to have this payoff.
That's
Yeah.
And for business leaders and board members, that's all they care about.
Well, no, I wouldn't say
not all.
No,
yeah, all is the wrong word.
Yeah.
You're right.
90%.
I think what we are up against is that we talk to HR managers and they say, "Oh my God, this is exactly what we're looking for," and then they go to the CFOs, and then that's the argument. Absolutely, because the CFOs and the CEOs often, and they say this to my face, "Oh, HR always wants to do good with the people." I'm like, well, that's basically
yeah.
Yeah.
And it does.
And
it
you're
does
a CEO that shouldn't be a CEO. That's the response right there.
But it does do good. It's just that shouldn't come up in conversation.
No, it should be a win-win in all these brackets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The business leaders care about the business, which is their job.
Yeah.
To care about profitability, and you're either profit and loss comes from revenue and expenses. So you're either adding revenue, which this is, if you're adding back performance. So if you're helping someone with mental health and now they're producing more, are at a higher level, they're easier to work with, etc., everyone wins. So yes, it's the right and moral, maybe even ethical thing to do, but it's also just a great business move. Like this is just good business.
True.
Yeah.
But the thing that I was surprised about, knowing what I knew about the children and their needs and the increasing needs and increasing autism and ADHD and all this, is that I didn't see until a little bit in an aftersight that digital tools had changed the actual access
100%.
to help. So
I thought you were going to go the route of the digital tools have changed their brain.
They have. Both have changed our generation that is coming to work.
Right.
But they've also eliminated church, neighborhood things.
Yep.
You don't go to the bank anymore. You don't go to the post office anymore.
Social interactions.
Social interactions have just been deleted by default because of technology. And we've been doing it like this, but that's not the same thing. And now we have like a whole generation that grew up in their most sensitive brain development phase, scrolling. And we changed the circuits. And you guys in the US have been talking about it more than the Europeans. But this is basically what all the HR managers say, that they're just welcoming a different type of generation. They are more stressed, more anxious about things. They have a hard time with social interactions. They don't want to make a phone call. Right. They don't want to pick a fight, and they just, along with this, they also are overprotected of our, us, the parents. So they don't go to work as young as we did. They don't have those interactions where we had to learn how to be, rude to someone or whatever, we learn stuff. And then you are at work. So basically they're coming in almost needing a bit of parenting, and then they need support as well.
Yeah. So question on the I guess the buying process.
Yeah.
When you're talking with a company, where are they disconnecting from you? If they're not going to be a buyer, they don't see a value in it. Where's the disconnect? And kind of the reason I ask this question is I think we're talking about a lot of different people within an organization. HR, you already said, cares about the people. The CFO, the CEO, they're more about the bottom line. There's probably crossover somewhere in there. But I'm curious, where is that disconnect? What do they truly, if they don't buy from you or they don't buy from another solution similar, where's the disconnect from the CEO or CFO level?
So there are two things at play, in my opinion. One is that many of the CEOs, so the HR will present to the CEOs or the CFOs, and they will say, this is not something that the company has to do. This is supposed to be done by the
It's a nice to have, not a need to have.
Yeah. So if we start doing this, then everybody starts doing this. And what about the tax money that we're paying for? This is supposed to be. And this, in my honest opinion, is very old-fashioned view.
100%.
And we will never get through there. So we'll just back out. So the second one is, yes, I know we're going to have to be part of the safety net to help people. We need people at work. We can't just dump them on health insurance. So they have the stopper there is the budgeting. So they've never paid, or maybe, a little bit, but they've never really paid for help like this. So there's a new budgeting. So that's our challenge. And that's why our sales cycle is pretty slow. But everybody agrees that this is coming and this is something that they need to go for. So we have offers. I mean, we can produce a wellbeing hub only for women if they think that's a problem. We can do a neurodiversity hub in the beginning, and we can step in a little more lightly for lower usage or for a budget that just like we plan a budget with them and try to limit them the credits when they're through. And it's just, the HR manager and NPS score is 100, and I'm waiting for it to fall down. But they really like that all the line managers have something to show them, open up and say, you have choices. Right. They're all within this week. There's plenty of things. We also have Leadership Hub, which usually is a good opener. So we can start with only the leadership team. And that, shows the usage and the need. And then they will say, hey, this is great. And then we have also an option for companies that are not ready at all. But we say, if you have a crisis, talk to us. We'll send you help immediately. And we have a crisis hub as well. So we're very versatile in trying to get in. But I think the actual stopper is the budgeting.
Yeah, and I think so my gut tells me
it's always that, right?
Yeah, it is. But the thing is some of this, whenever you're dealing with an enterprise sale and the sale's too long, it's been my experience that we're talking to the wrong people, right? We're talking to, well, in this case, let's say we're talking to an HR director. We don't have access to the CHRO. We don't have access to the benefits people, where some of this is going to come from their budget. So it takes long because we're talking to the wrong people. But what I love about what you're doing is it's highly personalized kind of performance or achievement. And again, it's helping employees meeting where they are and helping them with bespoke, specific things that they need at that moment. Which, if that doesn't lead to performance, I don't know what does.
Yeah, because if you think about the whole system in play, you want to have the right connection between the right professional and 80% of the results of therapy is the connection you have with your therapist.
Right.
So we are trying our best to have enough of options so that people can pick and choose and be responsible for their choice, because that's their journey they're embarking on. But the company is actually supporting them, both giving access and paying their way to start. And these are the two biggest barriers for getting help: access and payment.
Right.
Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of adoption and usage when you go into a company and if you're starting in the leadership with the leadership team, let's say they have 50 people, whatever that number is.
Yeah.
Are you finding that they're using this because it's available, or do they still shy away from it because they're afraid that if they use it, others will know on the leadership team? Is there some
privacy?
Yeah, good question. So the Leadership Hub is usually pushed quite heavily to say, guys, you have options of leadership coaching here. We're all going to be using it. So it's quite close and personal, and it's pushed for usage. And usually they have more sessions also to spend. The other type, the wellbeing hub, we are dependent on pushing it out and introducing it, of course, but our average usage rates is 25% of the employees are using it for a whole year, which is way higher than the next EAP that is in service in Europe, which is like 1 to 2%.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
I think it's the choice, and also what you were, coming at, Ryan, is the security part. So everybody sees that this is like all kinds, and you can use it, and you can even say that you were using it, but you don't have to say who you were seeing. So I have one case that we're actually, as a biotech company, we're actually helping them increase the usage. So they have only psychotherapists and psychologists, and we see, only 3%. So I said, well, you guys have to flush this out. It doesn't matter for you because it's just the usage rate that you're paying anyway. But let's have more variability and show that there's, you can use this without telling everyone who you're going to see, because stigma is around. I mean, it's never
and it's real. It's real.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and you don't want to. Out of maybe 10 psychologists, it's easy to figure out if you're seeing someone, and then it's a hush hush and nobody talks about it. So if in an environment in an office they've shown that there's 50% more usage if a colleague says they used it.
Yeah.
So it's super important that they are not afraid of it and say, hey, did you use the wellbeing hub? But we are also just trying really hard to, remind them that they have credits, and also that there's a new professional on board. We just added 2 more nutritionists, and trying to get to the end user, which is a little bit hard in Europe GDPR world.
Right.
We are looking at some, ideas to do that.
Well, the company would have to turn over communications or allow you to communicate to them.
Yeah, most
and
of
they'd have to have the permission of the employees to be able to do that.
It depends on the company, but some of them are just like, no, we're not handing you the emails.
Right. No, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. So 2 things. You mentioned credits. So I want to explore or understand kind of that. And the second thing is I want to talk a little bit, or want you to talk a little bit about reactive versus proactive.
Yeah.
And so take us into those 2 worlds.
Yeah. So credits are just the kind of the note that the company sends out. They're going to be paying 10, like police forces are paying more than a regular, retail company is paying 3. It's diverse. So we don't come in with any claims that this should be X, Y, or Z, but we say the professionals demand it to be 3 or more. So we're listening to the professionals there, and the company really listens to those arguments. So if somebody is doing poorly, the professional will flag that person needs more credit, and that goes to the HR manager. Sometimes it's by name, but most of the time it's just anonymous, and they trust the professional in that respect. So we're working with a hospital, and the status of our hospitals. So we're continuously giving added credits to people there, which is not a very nice story to hear, but that's the case. So we do that a lot.
Is some of that COVID related?
Sorry?
We're still
working from COVID, but it's not just COVID related. It's just staffing, and there's so many problems in the hospitals, and we're just kind of silently not talking about it. It feels.
Ryan, do you feel like we're talking about it?
Yeah,
we talk about it a lot now. Yeah,
ours are horrible.
Yeah. So they're everywhere.
And we're just we're talking about it like in the news, talking about it, or not talking about 10 years of a plan.
Got it.
Yeah, it's probably the same. I mean, I would hope, I hope that the administrators in those organizations are. I don't know that they are, but we it's a lot of complaining and not a lot of solutions. Yeah.
So the credits are driven by the person on the other end that basically says, actually, we can get this done in 2, or they get in and go, this is going to take at least 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever the bid is before I even can unravel to know what it's actually going to take. Okay.
Yeah. Now, on that same breath, as you're answering, what happens if the therapist says we're going to need 6 for person A, and HR says, yeah, we can only do 4?
Well, I don't think we've had that problem. I think the professional, the
that would just be a bad company to work for. Put that out there.
Yeah, I guess. So the EAPs right now are, you finish your credits. The competition is there. You finish your credits, and then the EAP will say, "Oh, you will have to find a new psychologist." Right. So we will never kick anybody out, but they have to bring their credit card in, to keep paying.
That's right.
But we haven't had that problem yet that the HR says no. But
well, if they're working with a provider that they feel like they're getting that it's working out and they're getting something out of, and they're not going to want it to stop.
No, and we vetted everyone, and of course you're not going to endlessly pay to a nutritionist, so it's usually a psychologist, right?
Right.
But I want to say, on the note of resources in the mental health pandemic that we're in, we do need to think about their health as well. So we 100%. Are really clear also on, we have support for them, the professionals as well. So if they have,
they're consuming all that stuff. Yeah. So the proactive, reactive, tell us a little bit about the
proactive. So what
preventative?
So what I've heard through working with all these professionals, that, if you ask them how many people are seeing you for a very long time and how many are not. So it's I don't have a researched ratio, but many of them are saying, sometimes I can just help people with one session, just one session, and they're going to sleep better. I only tell them that these are all natural feelings that they have, and they should not worry about the feelings and just breathe a little bit and talk to me again if they have overwhelmed them in another setting or something like that. So just like I have one user story. Of course, we don't have access to the people that are getting help, but I have one because I know that person, and it was related to the volcanic activity here, and as a whole town had been moved. That person just had family in that town, but was really affected by it. Had to help out and was very stressed. And that person said, I just needed one session to understand that this was all normal. If you don't get that talk that is normal to have stressed feelings, they can turn into lack of sleep, more anxiety, change of behavior, and you can get really, really sick. So it's super important to try. And that's why I'm proud of the 25% usage. It isn't about a lot of sessions per person. It's just about the access to talk to someone. And, people are not calling anymore. They've just researched that 8 minutes of talking to a friend actually gives you a lot of calm and relaxation. Just talking to a friend and on the phone. So we're leaving this behind, and I don't want necessarily everybody to see a professional. I would love for people to start calling their friends. I think that would be helpful. And I think phone companies should actually take that on and just, make the call to your friend and feel better.
It's funny as you say that. I'm thinking, when's the last time I just picked the phone up?
I know, did the same
and called. Thing. Yeah, not even. And I'm not talking like Zoom, right? Like just hitting somebody on Zoom or texting. Like, when did I just say, you know what? Let's just call somebody without the text first, without texting first.
Last week was the first time in years.
I mean, we should get those numbers of calls decreasing. I mean,
right.
And how often do you answer the phone if you don't know the number?
Oh, zero.
Yeah. Zero, right?
Yeah.
Or I'll do Russian roulette.
We don't want the sales, right? But it might be somebody interesting. You know,
we were supposed to learn about tech on this call,
sorry.
and now I'm
I'm in
second
therapy.
guessing my day to day.
I'm in therapy. I'm learning a bunch of stuff. Ryan, don't stop this.
I'm
Ask some
feeling a little
technical
hot
questions.
right now.
But I'm a techie. I wouldn't be in this job unless not a
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
I have an amazing programmer team, but
Yeah.
I love tech. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. I love being able to browse and Google my things to the end and the API, no, the AI now and everything. It's amazing.
So you're using Google Lens?
No, I'm not doing that, but
Okay.
I've had
Ryan?
access to. You are?
Ryan, are you using Google Lens?
No. Mm-mm.
Go to Google Play or go to the Google Store, download it.
Yeah.
Because basically it's attached to results, search results.
Oh,
So
yes. Sorry, I thought you were talking
you
about
take
something else, but yes.
no Google Lens. You take a picture of something like a
Right.
spider.
Yeah, I've used it. Yeah, sorry, I
Okay.
misunderstood.
No
I was
worries.
thinking glasses.
No.
Lens.
Google
That's
Glass. No.
yeah.
And
No.
Yeah.
I love the Be My Eyes company from Denmark. Have you heard about
Yep.
that? Yeah. Now
No.
it's part of the. I think it's part of ChatGPT now. So it's just such a wonderful story. It's like it's probably 6 years old now that you could pick up. You would sign up for a network for people that were blind. And
Right.
then they would just push a button on their phone, and the one that was available would answer and be their eyes. So they would hold their phone,
Oh.
and I would say, "Oh, the bus is coming. Stay away from the curb. Back up 2 steps." Or
That's
I could
genius.
say, "Genius," and I could say, "Oh, the milk is running out. Don't drink that one." You know,
So
they would
simple.
so simple,
Yeah,
but still just
Yeah.
genius. Yeah. And I think it's now part of the ChatGPT kind of when you can talk to the phone, and
right.
Mhm.
Right.
then
That
somebody.
is so cool.
It is
All
so
right, we
cool.
got
I
to get
love
back to you. I took us off
it.
track with Google. My bad. Buying questions, always important for us because there's a lot of
Yes.
practitioners to listen
Yeah.
to the show. What should they be asking of you or providers like yourself? What you can probably get pulled into different questions that you don't care about, like how much does this cost?
Yeah.
But what should they be asking you?
They should be asking on the grounds of their information about what they're doing right now, which usually is not existing when we come in,
Right.
how it's used and how the usage is. Because the current solutions are either very little used or paid quite heavily, like Calm and all these Headspace apps that are not being used either.
Mhm.
So, you know, be ready for the meeting and then ask me the questions of usage. And
Right.
then, secondly, I would think security. You know, are people sure that their information is not going anywhere to a database or Meta or whatever?
Right. Right.
That would be the second question I would think. And the third question is, how do you measure, you know, the if people are getting better?
Impact. Yeah. Do you blend? Not that you're using it as synonyms, but you use privacy and security simultaneously
Well,
because they mean different things.
they are, but security is what I think is that I'm responsible for. So
Right.
privacy can be, you know, where you take the session. I can't be
Right.
responsible that somebody sees who you're talking to, but we try to remind people about thinking about privacy. But I take care of that nobody knows the second name of the professional when you're
Right.
emailed or text, and you know, I never mix sensitive information so that you can connect the ones together.
Right.
And then every single professional is in a silo and they get a very secure workstation for their material.
Question about along the buying process. So earlier you had said that HR will go and
Yeah.
pitch it to the CEO, and they just don't know how to do it.
Mhm.
What is the way that they should be pitching? And I know you've answered this throughout the conversation, but just so we have it in one spot. If I'm in HR, I'm an HR leader, CHRO, I'm going to the CEO and saying, look, I've been through this. I've spoken with this company. I
Mhm.
think we need this. This is
Mhm.
why. What
Yeah.
is that story they need to tell?
3 points really. This is good for business and the ROI numbers. This is good for our line managers, which are taking on all these conversations, and many of them cannot do it, or some of them take them home and are really worried. And third, this is good for recruitment because the young people are going to ask this. So these 3 are like the key, but we try to kind of help them with understanding what the problem is in the company. And we try to say, okay, I think this could help. And maybe, for example, the communication problem that the young ones have, if you have a big group of Gen Z, we might want to, overextend a lot of, coaches that are working on that. And then the line managers can say, hey, I want you to see someone on the car hub, but I would want you to see somebody that works with communication skills. So we try to kind of help them with more arguments than less, but we always have these 3 on hand.
Yeah, what I love about that, William, and you're probably like this as well, is that she went right to the business side. It wasn't just, this is good, it's human nature, it's good for humanity.
Have to.
All valid points, right? We all know that, and we all believe
Well,
that.
you've got to, you're climbing up a mountain of historical failure with EAPs. So EAPs have been around for fucking 300 years. Who cares? But they've also been historically not used.
Yes.
And so leading with the business and then coming back behind that and say, hey, listen, it's not like we haven't had some of these programs before. We have had some of these programs before. The problem with them is we haven't been able to drive adoption. We haven't worked with a partner that's the first, they lead with adoption. Again, it's a feature isn't a feature if no one uses it. So a service isn't a service if no one uses it. This is a game of consumption and usage. And so if you have a provider like yourself that basically says, listen, we could have the greatest communications expert or psychologist, etc., work with you. But if you don't know that they're available, which is one thing that communications from benefits to employees, if they don't know they have it available to them, that's a fail. Or if they don't consume the service, that's a fail.
Yeah. And what we do as well is, let's say it's on a hold pattern in the company. We just leave the conversation and say, hey, you will probably have an incident that the EAP will not solve. Just call us. We're here. We'll get you the professional that you need. And we've had that, and they are just like, okay, you're just speaking to the choir here. It's not working because they're bringing something to the EAP and they're saying, no, we can't deal with this because they're not, it's free lunch.
That's
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last question for me today. And this is I think more from my own knowledge than anything. I forget the benefits that I have from previous employers that I still have. They still send me, whether it's flexible spending accounts that have 570 some dollars since 2006, I think is in there. I have never used it. I don't know how to use it. But every month they send me a thing that says, hey, here's how you use it. At some point I will use it, right?
Yeah.
But direct mail right to me at my house is the best way for me to understand. And along with that, they're all actually Fidelity just sent something, which had something around mental health with it. I said, oh, and because we do what we do, I looked at it, but it was there. I would not have thought about that in any other fashion. Like I wouldn't have looked at it in an email. If it was a text, I would have blocked it as spam. But they just sent it. It was there on my counter when I came home.
Yeah.
And it was all about mental health and how to well-being and stuff like that. And this is from Fidelity. I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool.
And could you easily access the services?
Yeah. Well, if I need it, yeah. I mean, I don't know how to. I mean, because I don't use them anymore. It's just an old account that literally has my money in it. Just like sit there. But I'm curious, like, what is, and I know it's going to be different here than it will be in Europe. But I'm curious, what is that communication to help drive engagement? What do you do there?
Yeah. So basically, you have to have a buy-in from, they wouldn't buy us unless they have a buy-in. So
Right.
that we launch with the whole company. Usually it's the CEO that says we're opening this up for you guys. And we see a peak usage. People have been waiting for something.
Right.
And then when you've used it, we can communicate a little bit with you. But we're, this is not easy. We're doing a
No.
lot of things. We're sending posters and flyers and things. People are working remote. How do you reach them without knowing their email? So we help the HR managers to send out stuff. We also say, let's do a nutrition week, and then we'll have one of the the professionals do a webinar, and then we'll add some, nutrition, and then we see that goes up. But basically, since it's 50% psychologists, it's just the actual knowing that you have access to it, and it should be easy. It's a link on whatever HR system, super easy, but you can see as soon as you've booked, you've moved into another secure environment, that you're speaking with a professional. And I guess it's a luxury problem right now for us, but I know going into 10,000 people companies, we'll have to probably do a little more. And we're thinking about very clever moves, I think, and right now in the dev department that I'm not gonna tell you right now, but hope it's gonna work.
I think one of the things that hopefully, I mean, you probably have it on your roadmap already, or you're already doing it. It's if somebody hasn't logged in, let's say in a week, it's a do you know communication around
Yeah, but
that
you
they
have
have
to have the emails of the staff.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
do you?
Well, you have
Inside the
to have
system,
some. Well,
you have to have.
if they're inside, they've claimed
Yeah.
their credits, yes.
Okay.
But the rest. So my kind of
Oh, you're
North
trying to get the
Star.
other folks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
So my North Star is access. Is the Vietnamese truck driver driving recycling bus?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get him to
Right.
use this?
The
So
company
that's
has
our.
it. It's provided. Other people are using it. He's not using it. He might
Yeah,
not even know it's available.
I don't know if he is, but I really want to be able to say he can access it very easily.
Right.
Without it being a small link in a SharePoint site somewhere where they've got to click through to find it, right? It's there.
Yeah. No, it's just one click, and then you have the
Yeah.
whole wellbeing hub on. And it's
Wow.
and then it's very easy to use on the phone. But we have lots of problems. So we have both online and offline services. The online is easy, but if you think about it, how does a hospital provide
Mm-hmm.
a space for the nurse
Right.
to do?
Right.
So 80% of the hospital is going out to see their professionals, right? All the remote companies are doing just remote. So we'll be able to see kind of for different sectors how it's going, and we told the hospital, you guys really have to make sure that they have a private room. And they were like, of course, we don't even have private rooms to tell somebody that somebody has died. I mean, they're just in a crisis. So they had to kind of like fall back on like say, yes, they just have to go outside of the hospital to do this. So we need to accommodate for different, like we might be working with a big construction company that moves people around, right? Where do these men, almost all men, take that call, in the car, or do we set up in the city close? Do we move them around, the professionals? So it's a lot of things to make sure access is available.
Right. I know Ron feels the same way. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and your intelligence, and what you've built is just lights out fantastic. Thank you.